In 1983, 90% of American media was owned by 50 separate companies. By 2012, that same 90% of media was controlled by only 6 companies. And some modern-day figures have that number down as low as 5. Really, these individuals share similar views and are working to coordinate their efforts. So everything we've covered so far in this video would suggest that propaganda is not only as real as it was back in the early to mid-1900s, but that it's more relevant today than ever before. And so far, we've just been arguing off of deductive reasoning. We haven't even explored an example yet. Now, I could easily point to examples of propaganda in media related to warping the public's perception on politics.
What if the two-party system was actually a mechanism used to limit so-called public opinion? What if there were more than 2 sides to every issue, but the 2 parties wanted to box you into a corner, one of their corners?
Propaganda used to demean Christianity.
But then, Jesus, which religion should our family be?
601, they're all complete crap.
Thank you.
Propaganda to warp public perception on gun rights.
One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Or propaganda related to the glorification of drugs.
That was him testifying today in the House with other leading medical experts about this apparently newly controversial issues of vaccines that should never be controversial at all.
But the one that I'd like to use for this illustration is propaganda related to the LGBT community. A recent Gallup poll shows the support and opposition statistics for gay marriage between 1996 and 2015. According to this chart, the number of people in opposition of gay marriage has dropped from 68% to 37%, while the figures for those in favor of gay marriage has skyrocketed from 27% to a majority 60% in just 19 years. That is a major shift in societal norms. Be honest with yourself. Whether you're in favor or in opposition of gay marriage, do you really think that this drastic change in social perception was purely organic? The Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, aka GLAAD, has evaluated the quantity and quality of LGBT characters during primetime television since 2006. Their stated objective is to push for positive representation and to increase the amount of representation. The 2015 GLAAD ratings and score, based on the percentage of LGBT-inclusive original programming hours during primetime television, shows that programming is at an all-time high on broadcast and cable networks. Folks, the LGBT community currently makes up only 3.4% of the population. So why is 8% representation considered a failing grade and 28% representation considered merely adequate? Check the link in the description for a fascinating article written by a former transgender individual who elaborates more on this coordinated effort to make LGBT narratives the new norm in America. A typical approach for indoctrination through the use of propaganda is as follows. First, the viewer is exposed to the information and is made conscious of the subject matter. From there, the subject matter, in this case the LGBT narrative, is assimilated to the individual on an emotional level, usually by way of a third-party participant. An example of this would be a beloved sitcom character's persona reflected in the subject matter. While the viewer experiences positive feelings towards that particular character, they are also subconsciously assimilating positive feelings towards the agenda being pushed. This links the orchestrated narrative with the viewer on an emotional level. The final step is repetition. The more the viewer is exposed to this, the stronger the emotional bond becomes, and thus the harder it is to break. This results in a permanent distortion of the individual's views, assuming they held opposing views beforehand. Further implemented techniques, as is the case with the LGBT agenda, also occasionally include a demonization of the opposition. The fact is, we are bombarded with propagandized messaging every single day, and the number one source for that indoctrination is our television sets. Watching TV puts the viewers into a highly susceptible sleep-like hypnotic state, largely caused by the screen flicker that lowers the viewer's brainwaves into what is called an alpha state. This alpha state of mind is what you'd normally associate with meditation or deep relaxation. And most people enter into this state of mind within 30 seconds to 3 minutes of television viewing. When in this hypnotic state, the information that you are exposed to is downloaded directly into your subconscious mind, where your existing beliefs are altered to form new beliefs without you even noticing. This is a very suggestive state of mind in which the right side of your brain tends to not critically analyze incoming information as it normally would. Again, check out the links in the description for more information. The average American watches 2 to 5 hours of television a day. Over the course of an average lifetime, that figure amounts to 9 years of a person's life. That's 9 years of indoctrination dedicated to programming every single man, woman, and child in this country. Now you may be sitting there thinking to yourself, but isn't propaganda illegal? Or wouldn't the government try and stop propaganda? Well, as it turns out, no. Back in 2012, an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, proposed by Mac Thornberry, a Republican from Texas, and Adam Smith, a Democrat from Washington, effectively nullified the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, which explicitly forbid information in psychological operations aimed at influencing U.S. public opinion. This amendment effectively allows the United States government to legally use, quote, information operations on the American public. These information operations, or IOs for short, are loosely outlined as incorporating, quote, the integrated employment of electrical warfare, computer network operations, psychological operations, military deception, and operations security in concert with specified supporting and related capabilities to influence, disrupt, corrupt, or usurp adversarial human and automated decision-making while protecting our own. And the primary purpose for IOs is to, quote, shape the essential narrative of a conflict or situation and thus affect the attitudes and behaviors of the targeted audience. So not only does the government permit propaganda to be used against the American public, they've actually taken special precautions to legally use propaganda on the general public themselves. People, propaganda is the most effective on an unsuspecting public. If you're the type of person to limit propaganda's existence to the pages of a history book, or think that you've somehow evaded any form of propaganda and its effects on your beliefs, then you are actually the perfect candidate for the propaganda machine. Now, I know it's difficult to consider that your beliefs may not be entirely your own, but it's important to try. The first step to overcoming any form of indoctrination is to be aware of your own susceptibility and to take an honest, introspective look into your own beliefs. Because propaganda is most effective when combined with emotional stimuli, it's important to analyze your own emotional responses to conflicting information that you may be presented with. In other words, if someone says something to you that you disagree with, and you feel an intense emotion in response to what they've said, chances are the beliefs that you hold on that particular topic are intimately tied to an artificial emotive response ingrained in your mind through years of indoctrination. Stay conscious to these threats of persuasion, and focus on evaluating new information from an emotionally neutral and purely logical frame of mind. Only then will you be able to counteract the effects of propaganda and start to form your own opinions. Thanks for watching, guys. Please share this video with friends and family. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Check out some of my previous videos, and God bless.